Hey everyone, this is Kevin from thechesswebsite.com, and today we're going to be going over a cool little trap, the Hollister trap, and it derives from the Blackmar-Deemer gambit. In the Blackmar-Deemer game, it starts out with pawn to d4, pawn to d5. These are the main lines. It can transpose a few different ways, but pawn to e4, offering up this gambit on e4. From here, black's going to take on e4, and white's going to play a development move, knight to c3, and at the same time attacking this pawn on e4. Black's going to respond with his own development move, knight to f6. You always want to develop your knights to the center. At the same time, trying to defend this pawn on e4. Now white's going to continue the main line with pawn to f3, weakening his king side, so more than likely he's going to castle on the queen side. From here, black's going to take on f3, and white's going to offer up the Reiter gambit with queen takes on f3, and this allows the queen to come to d4. Now white is down 2 pawns in material, but black may fall into a very familiar trap that we're going to take a look at, the Hollister trap. And this is actually a very aggressive and very good line for white because he has a lot of attacking potential. From here, white's going to play bishop to e3, and the queen has to go somewhere. And a lot of times, if a black player hasn't played this too often, he'll play queen to b4, thinking that the white would like to castle on the on the queen side, and he already knows that we can't play rook to b1 to defend this b2 pawn because we want to castle on the queen side, and we won't play pawn to b3 defending this because we'll lose our knight on c3. And so he knows that if we castle on the queen side, then he can bring his bishop to g4, pinning down our queen to our rook on d1, and black's going to just continue to mount up more and more material. Since he already has a 2-pawn advantage, a lot of times if he can trade off this rook for his bishop, that's going to be ample material for him to win the game pretty easy. But this is actually the trap that we want him to fall into. After he plays his queen to b4, we're going to continue with our plan, castle on the queen side. And remember, we want to castle on the queen side, one, for king safety, but at the same time, more importantly, we want to bring our our rook to d1. We really want this full d open file to be open for our rook, because it's going to open a lot of attacking lines for our rook, as this king can't move. As we attack the king the entire game, it's going to be really hard for him to develop his pawn, and it's really going to be hard for him to move his dark square bishop. So as long as we can attack this king, he can't move on this d file, which is really what we want. So as long as we can start to attack the king, it's going to be very hard for him to not lose the game. So from here, we'll continue. More times than not, if he does play queen to b4, he's going to play bishop to g4. And from here, we don't care that our queen is being attacked. Instead, we're going to play knight to b5. And this is a brilliant move here. If he were to be a moron and take our queen here, then he's going to lose the game with knight takes on c7, and this is checkmate. There's no way for his knight to go, and he can't take this knight here. His king can't move because our rook here on d1 is attacking. So he can't do that, and there's a few other options that you may see. Keep in mind at the same time we are attacking his queen, so he's going to have to do something. There's a few things that you may see. One of the most common is you may see knight to a6, and what this does is it defends this pawn on c7. But from here we can bring our queen and take on b7 right away, and at the same time we are still attacking this pawn on c7. So if he tries something fancy, we can come here, take on c7, and at the same time we have a discovered attack on the queen on b4. So it's being defended right now by the knight on a6, but that knight on a6 is going to have to take our knight on c7, or he's going to lose the game. So from then we can easily take his queen. So from here, you may see the queen come to e4, and this is a very important move because keep in mind at the same time, not only are we attacking this c7 pawn, but we're also attacking this rook on a8. And he can't move his rook to c8 because from here we can take this knight on a6. We have a completely winning game. He would like to take our rook on d1, but he can't do this because now we can take his rook on c8 and that's a good game for black. So a lot of the things that black would like to do, he can't do that, and since we've already taken his knight here on a6, all his opportunities are falling out the window. So c8 for his rook is going to be a bad move. His best move, after b7, is to try a last attempt with queen to e4. And what this does is he's trying to trade off queens here, trying to somehow not lose this game, and at the same time trying to defend his rook on a8. From here, though, we can just take the knight on a6, and from here he can take our bishop on e3, which is, it looks on the surface like it's okay for black. We are now going to bring our king to b1, and now the queen's going to bring black's going to bring his queen to c5, and from here we're going to either develop our knight to f3, or if you want to play an even more aggressive move, you can play queen to b7. And as you can see here, white has a lot of attacking moves. He's attacking this rook on a8, and at the same time he's double attacking this pawn on c7. And there's a lot that black really has to look at, and there's not much that he can do here. From here, if he takes our rook on d1, then we can take his rook on a8, and pretty much he lost the game. Good game, black here. If he moves his queen to d7 here, we can now bring our knight back to c3. We're going to have a pretty easy game from here on out. We can start to develop our minor pieces and bring our other rook into the action. As you can see here, the material is about even. He's up one pawn to material, but as you can tell, our pieces are a lot more active and his king is wide open in the very middle of the game. So this is going to be a very good game for white, and this is if he plays perfectly. If he falls into that trap early on and plays his bishop to g4, trying to pin down our queen, it's going to be very hard for him to do anything but lose the game. There are a few other options that you may see in the game. A lot of times, we'll go ahead and get into it again after we bring to f3 and he takes. And we bring our bishop to e3, and we castle on the queen side, and he brings his bishop down. If we bring our knight to b5, a lot of times you'll see him right away try to get his pawn out of the way and try to give his king a little bit of room. So you may see pawn to e5, which is a noble attempt, but from here we can come in and play our knight to c7, attacking the king. And as we already talked about, he can't move down this d file because of our rook. This rook on d1 is so important the entire game because it really minimizes where the king can go. Now from here, the only move that black has is king to e7, and from here we can just bring our queen to b7, and we're already attacking this rook on a8. There's nothing that black can do to prevent us from taking this, and we're just going to continue to go up in material. His king is out in the open, we're just going to continue to gobble up pieces. If he tries a last-ditch effort and takes our queen on b7, then we can bring our bishop to c5, checkmate. There's no way for him to go, and this would be a pretty awesome way, I think, to win the game, because he has so many of these pieces, but there's nothing he can do. He can't take our bishop, and he can't move because of our knight, and he can't move on this d5 because of our rook. So keep this in mind if you do play it. Another thing you do want to take a look at is if he doesn't fall into the trap. Anytime you do play a trap, you want to be aware that he may not fall into it. So if we continue along the lines of the trap, and he takes on f3, and we do play f3 with our queen, and he does come down and capture with his queen after we play with bishop to e3, the best move that he can do is queen to g4, not putting his queen on b4, trying to attack this pawn. At the same time, we're going to continue castle on the queen side. Remember, this is very important with this trap. We're giving up this pawn on d4 early on so that our rook can nicely sit here on the d file and just aim down attacks on the black king. Now from here, if we take a look at it, if black were to capture on f3 and we recapture with our knight, now white is down 2 pawns in material, but at the same time we have a lot of attacking ideas. If you just look at the setup here, black has one knight developed to f6. We have both of our knights developed to the center. We have a bishop developed. we have our king side safety castled on the queen side, and we have a rook nicely aligned on the d file. So although we're down 2 pawns in material, we have a lot of aggressive lines, and this is going to be a very good and fun game for white, as he can use his creativity to put a lot of attacks on the black king, and the black king is going to be running around the game instead of developing like normal if white plays it correctly. So these are some of the things you want to take a look at when you play the Hollister trap. If he does fall for it, which you'll see a lot of times, you have a devastating attack, but even if he does it, you still have a lot of attacking lines, and it's going to be a very aggressive play from you. So keep this in mind, play this, let me know how it goes. I've had a lot of fun with it, experimenting with it, so let me know how you guys do with it as well. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and let me know what you guys think. If you haven't checked out the website, thechesswebsite.com, pretty easy. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.